welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Will come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And welcome to the last weekly recap before football season starts up. Well, nope, that's not true. Welcome to the second to the last weekly recap before football season starts up. I could have covered and say I meant volleyball. I didn't. But yeah, we get to cover a soccer victory and the women's basketball non-con release of their schedule, as well as just not necessarily previewing, but mentioning the fact that K-State volleyball has their first exhibition coming up this Saturday. But before we get into any of the actual news, we do want to thank the sponsors of this episode. That is Greg, Arthur, and Grandma.
Thank you,
Grandma. And if you want to have your name read out at the beginning of every single episode, please be sure to check out the official supporters link in our podcast and Twitter bios. But let's just go ahead and dive right in to the only official match. I think it's actually the only match of any kind for K-State in this weekly recap, and that is K-State women's soccer up against Portland State. And Connor, they did it. They won. They won 2-0.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I was able to catch parts of this game. K-State actually did get outshot pretty significantly in this game, 16-8. But from what I saw, a lot of them were not very good shots. Like, most of their shots were from well outside the box and were just Hail Marys pretty much. Even most of their shots on goal, Murphy Sheaf was able to collect with ease for the most part. But K-State's shots were few and far between, and we committed a lot of fouls, but we did take advantage of some big opportunities and definitely looked more conscious than we did in the prior week against Nevada. So this was a good step forward for K-State. Ryan Reynolds comes away with a brace, getting both goals for K-State. So that was really impressive, including a really nice strike on a free kick. But it was pretty solid match, all things considered, for K-State. The only thing, I guess, that you can really come away with and get worried about is that K-State's Rylan Rintoul had to be carted off of the field at one point, I think in the second half, with what looked like a knee injury. Then Murphy Sheaf went down on multiple occasions and never actually left the game, according to the stat track. I didn't have any audio when I was watching, so I wasn't able to tell one way or another. But there was a point where we were warming up another keeper, and it looked like she was going to come into the game. And I don't know if she actually did or didn't. But the stat track from Portland State does say Murphy Sheaf went the full 90. But regardless, that's something to keep an eye on, because Sheaf is one of the most important parts of this team. She had 4 shutouts last year, and I just collected her first of the season this year with 6 saves. She's really, really good and has saved this team on more than one occasion in the past. So I'm hopeful she's all right. But yeah, Ryan Reynolds coming off the bench and getting 2 clutch goals in pretty tight succession. She only played 19 minutes in this game.
Yeah, she got him quick.
Yeah, I know that first one was near the end of the first half, and then the second one I think was like right at the beginning of the second half. Like, yeah, it was 35 seconds in to the second half was when Ryan Reynolds got that second goal, and the first one was in the latter portions. Yeah, it was with about 2 minutes to go. So, like, real time, those are separated by like 22, 25 minutes, and game time, it was separated by like 2.5 minutes, actually. So, but 2-0 win for K-State. Took care of business against what should be an inferior opponent. And I will say, especially in the second half, we looked like the better team. The first half was a bit dicey at times, but the second half in particular really seemed like we kind of figured things out and we were attacking a lot better. It still feels like some of our players like have like some sort of like mental block, like when they're getting close to scoring or in scoring situations where we had a few chances across the game where we should have easily scored and we just weren't quite able to convert. So hopefully Ryan Reynolds getting a brace with those 2 goals in quick succession will maybe lift the curse, so to speak, for K-State soccer. But we'll have to wait and see on that. But they've got more games coming up. Sunday fixture against Gonzaga out in Spokane. And then next Thursday, they'll be back in Manhattan. They'll face Green Bay. That's a return game from last year, I think.
I believe so, yeah. Because I remember playing Green Bay last year.
Yeah,
but
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, always good to get your first dub on the year. And that's really it. That's really all I have to say. That's my contribution to this entire segment is it's nice to win.
I can't disagree. I really can't.
But before we get into the women's basketball non-con schedule, and yes, we will still be doing a full-on preview for the women's basketball team. So no, this will not be the very annoying rant from both of us, and by both of us I mean mostly me. But not saying that Connor isn't excited. He's much better than me at not being annoying when he's excited.
I'd say the better way to phrase that is without negative self-talk is that you're a much more outwardly passionate person than I am.
There's a reason why the picture of us at the TCU game is such an anomaly, because I'm not emoting and you are.
That jump scared me a few days ago. If you go and watch the replay of the TCU game from last season, the 42-3 win, I think it was, there is a point, I'm not going to tell you when, but there is a point in that game where Ace and I are on the broadcast, and we are doing the exact opposite of what you would expect each of us to be doing in that situation.
Yeah. But before we get into the women's basketball schedule, the Alleycats have an exhibition coming up this Saturday. And while it is an exhibition, I still technically count those as the kickoff to a season. And we've talked about it before, but I really think that the Alleycats are due for, not necessarily due, but I think they have the roster construction and the coaching to be a legitimately great team in this upcoming season.
Yeah, there's going to be some really good teams in the Big 12 this year, but I think K-State's preseason picked number 7, and that's out of 15-ish, I think, because I don't think Oklahoma State has volleyball. But this is going to be a really good team with Aaliyah Carter back and Nia Clinton back as well. Sholshevsky's back too. Then brought in some really great transfers as well. Jordan Williams from Kentucky and Meg Brown from Pepperdine, who is going to probably play a lot. I wish that we had better inside info on volleyball because I really do think that this could be a really special season for volleyball if everything falls the way that it could. But we'll have to wait and see. Brian Smoller went on Bosco's Boys recently, and they talked about volleyball pretty extensively there. So they did a pretty good recap there and Brian is probably the authority in the K-State sphere on pretty much everything. Actually, I was gonna qualify that statement.
Yeah, I was about to say what are you trying? What are you going to say? I was curious what you thought wouldn't be. I guess maybe football, but
yeah, yeah, I realized halfway through that sentence that would have been a really silly thing to do. So, but Brian, a great resource for all K-State sports, but I'll say in particular the non-revenues where he's commentating. So he's spending a lot of time with those. So he has his finger firmly on the pulse of the volleyball program, and I think this will be a big year for them. And they're starting out once they get past this exhibition with Wichita State. They're starting out hot. They're opening their season on the road at number 8 Purdue on August 30th. So that is an immediate challenge for this team. But at the same time, last year we look back, they started really, really slowly. Last year they kind of got blown out by Nebraska, and they kind of played with their food a bit with some non-conference opponents. That ultimately, I think, is what kept them out of the tournament. So this year we're going to be looking for them to start a little faster.
Yeah. Because I remember going to the Omaha game, and I think it was a 3-1 victory. I think Omaha picked up a set or two. I don't remember how many.
No, yeah, I agree. Yeah, that was a game that should not have been as tough as it was. And I'm looking back, and the funny thing is, like now that I'm looking back at it, that was a 3-0 win, but all of the sets were very, very close. But honestly, I was going to correct you and say I thought it was a 3-2 win because it didn't feel like a sweep, particularly against Omaha, which is, no offense, a team that K-State, with the amount of talent they had last year, probably should have been able to dispatch a little bit easier. But you have, this last year against Omaha, 21-25, 25-23, and 25-23. And I think they trailed in all those sets at some point. So, yeah, talk about a slow start. That's a great place to start there. Just not putting away opponents the way they should. Which last year they ended up flipping a switch and they kind of figured it out. And down the stretch in the season, they were kind of massacring like really good teams at home. They swept the eventual national champion in Texas, and they did it convincingly as well. So that was a team that, at least at home, they knew what they were doing by season's end. That was a totally different volleyball team.
Yeah. And I'm really excited for the upcoming volleyball season. And, hopefully, when does volleyball season end again?
Sometime in November.
Okay. So I might be
last year's last match was on the 25th. So regular season should be done then. Yeah.
Okay. So I might be able to catch a few games towards the latter end.
Oh, the last match is November 29th. Home match against BYU.
Oh, so okay.
That'll be a huge game.
Yeah. But yeah, it should be a good season for them. I'm looking forward to watching them, which I haven't been able to say about a lot of volleyball teams because, I'm not a huge volleyball guy. But there are some teams that are so fun that they can catch the attention of people that aren't interested in the sport initially. I kind of, in a much, much, much smaller sense, it's kind of like, how a lot of people got into women's basketball because of Caitlin Clark. I got into volleyball because of, Aaliyah Carter and Aya Clinton with K-State. Would I have gotten into it if I wasn't a K-State fan? Let's not talk about that. But yeah, I'm excited. And I know Connor's excited, but perhaps no one is more excited than Scott Wildcats.
Yeah, he definitely is very excited.
But now we can move into the sport that I know I've gone on record as saying that this is, even without a handicap, this is either number 1 or number 2 of the seasons I'm most excited for. And that is the women's basketball season. Their non-conference schedule just released, and it's, despite what I said, and I'm willing to say this because I had a good laugh at myself afterwards, despite what I told Connor whenever he first sent me the non-con schedule, there are a few pretty good non-con games for the women's basketball team. And we can just go through them in order. Exhibition up against Washburn. We go to law school there. That's about it.
Yeah.
And then Green Bay and Belmont both are in Bramlage. And then the first, I'm not going to call it massive game, but the first game of note would probably be Creighton in Manhattan. and then Little Rock and then Milwaukee. Then you get the Ball Dogs Classic, which you're starting off against a team that hosted a NCAA tournament game last year in Duke. And assuming that you can get by Duke, you're playing either one of DePaul or Oklahoma. So you're playing like that. Ball Dogs Classic is going to be a massive barometer because I expect us to this point to get through non-con unscathed. In fact, I will be quite alarmed if we do not get through non-con unscathed up into the Ball Dogs Classic. But I think similar to the Iowa game last year, this will be the game that's like, okay, how good is this team really? And we learned at the Iowa game last year that, oh, wait a minute, no, they're actually really good.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And I hadn't checked the net rankings of some of these teams before the podcast, but you look at them now, and Green Bay, they finished the season 53rd in the net, and Belmont, they were 71st in the net, and Creighton, of course, was really good. They finished 23rd in the net, and I think they finished ranked. Now, we don't need to talk about Little Rock and Milwaukee and their net rankings, but K-State starts out with one clearly tough game against Creighton, and then two that K-State still should win, but are potentially some decent challengers in Green Bay and Belmont. So I mean, we should still take care of business. I'm not saying anything like other than that. Don't get me wrong, but it's just this is a pretty strong non-conference schedule, and then of course you get Duke and the Ball Dogs Classic, and then I think Mitty really wants Oklahoma there at the end, because I'd imagine that he is out for blood. But honestly, even the back half of the schedule is interesting, if nothing else.
Because it immediately after the Ball Dogs Classic is Central Arkansas, who we played, was it last years ago?
I don't remember, actually. I couldn't tell you.
I remember us playing them. But anyway, after that is Eastern Illinois, USC Upstate. Don't ask me which SC it is. I'm assuming it's California.
It might be South Carolina.
Interesting.
I don't know, actually. I can't really be an authority on that. I have no idea.
Then at Texas A&M is going to be another interesting time because, well, first off, Texas A&M is Colt school, so they're going to have a substantial following no matter what the sport is. But going down to College Station is going to be a good test just to see, like, okay, can this team perform on the road? Because although it wasn't as much of a problem last year, and pretty much every year other than last year, the Midi Cats have had hiccups on the road, which is, I mean, that's pretty much every non-rep, which I don't know why I say it's every non-rep. It's every sport. Like there is a difference playing on the road and at home. And to wrap it up is another really good team in Middle Tennessee State on a neutral site in St. Joseph. And then wrapping up the non-conference schedule up against New Mexico State. So like Connor was saying, there are a few good matchups, but there are also, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Duke, K-State got, like, I don't know, ESPNU, ESPN2 billing, because that's two teams that hosted last year.
Yeah, that could be good. Like that. Well, it should be a really great match between Duke and K-State. I don't know what the broadcast rights are for the Ball Dogs Classic. I'm hopeful it is not Flow Hoops, so that way these great games can't get relegated. Yeah, so that way people actually get to watch them. I think it might be on Flow Hoops. At least the 2023 version, it looks like it may have been. I know. It's I don't know what to tell you, man. Yeah, so it's not looking good. I'm gonna be honest, but hopefully it's
not relegated to the eighth.
maybe this year, maybe it won't be. I guess I'll say that. Maybe it won't be.
Yeah. The only other hurdle I think would be the time, because it is 2 Central on a Monday. Very strange time. I'm gonna be in class.
I guess they're banking on people getting the week off for Thanksgiving or something, which I guess some people get the week off. I think K-State does a full week, but yeah, we don't get a full week. And Thanksgiving, it's a scam. And I'm still trying to do research on the broadcast rights for the Bulldogs Classic. And you're gonna find this shocking, but it's there's not a lot available for finding the media rights for this tournament. So I don't really know. I'm trying to figure it out, but it might be a secret.
Great. So we may miss out on an all-time classic.
Yeah, they don't have it listed on K-State's schedule either.
No,
so yeah, they may just not know.
Because I don't.
So. I hope it's that and not Flow Hoops. It might be better to just not broadcast it at all than have it on Flow Hoops.
Just embrace smaller vision.
I'd be fine with that. I would rather just watch a live stream of Brian Smoller watching the game than have to pay for Flow Hoops. So
it's a matter of principle at this point.
Yes, it is.
All right, but that's pretty much all I had to say. Do you have any final thoughts before we sign off here?
I cannot believe that we are finally upon football season. I mean, the day that this releases will be one day from the Classic that they play over in Ireland with Florida State and Georgia Tech. So it's here pretty much.
Yep. Can't believe the day of this releases. I think the day afterward is week 0. And then 7 days after that, your Kansas State Wildcats are playing the University of Tennessee Martin Skyhawks, I think it is. We'll be coming at you with a preview for that. I believe it's releasing next Wednesday. I think the schedule we're going to go with, which, administrative stuff, I think it's going to be the same that we did last year, where Monday is post-game for football. Wednesday will be preview. Friday, weekly recap. I think that's what we did last year.
I think that's what we've done the whole time, I think. Unless we've switched up previews and recaps at some point. But no, we're not making any major changes scheduling wise.
But until then, the next time that we'll be talking to you all will be the Skyhawks preview. So be sure to look out for that. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. If you want to follow or contact the show, you can follow us just about anywhere at Aggieville Alleycats. And if you want to email us, we're AggievilleAlleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at ACEdwards00.
I'm at Connor Baltzor, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official supporters link or the official merch store, both in our podcast and Twitter bios. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast, where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.